Hey everyone, DFA here, welcome back to the channel, and this week we're not talking about Blitz, we're talking about World of Warships Legends, and we're going to compare it with Blitz. Two video series. This week I'm talking about the positives, where I think Legends is better than Blitz. Next week we'll talk about the where I think Blitz is actually better, but there you go. The reason why I started playing Legends, it's pretty simple, and that's one of the positives. The game is actually working, no bugs. I have 3 devices, and Blitz decided not to work on any of the 3 devices for about a month. Well, guess what? Legends is simply working on every single one of them, so there you go. It feels like a proper video game from that perspective. Essentially, so it's still a wargaming title. You have your ships down below, and then you have commanders, etc. So I'm going to walk you through the options typically. So every month or every 6 weeks you get a new campaign, and you get daily missions that give you free stuff essentially. So typically in that case, yeah, it's material, and it's giving you an legendary commander, and yeah, or a specific commander in that case for the Spanish cruisers, which are introduced into the game as an early access event. Sounds familiar? Yeah, unfortunately. The main feature of Legends, it's actually the commander system, and I will spend a bit of time on this. So if I give you an example with the British, so each commander in Legends, and there are 4 kinds of commanders: battleships, cruiser, destroyers, and generalists, and there are CVs as well, sorry, 5, and they all come with specific skills. For example, let's take our friend Jellico. It does have a longer repair party duration, so that's your repair kit actually, plus 10%. That's actually an interesting boost, but there you go. Every one of them has ships, skills that are generic, and then a few skills that are specific. And yeah, maybe Jellico wasn't the best choice. Let's take for example Tywit. Tywit, so destroyer commander, Royal Navy. The main trait is actually better improvement in your torpedo damage DPM, and a reduction of getting your steering gear damage, because believe it or not, it happens all the time in that game. And then when you look at the first row skills, you can increase your torpedo speed by up to 5 knots. That's actually pretty significant. Or you can increase it by 4, reduce your torpedo launcher reload time by up to 12%, but also reduce the destroyer main battery reload time, so increase it by almost 10%. So a lot of skills have actually positives and negatives. They come with a trade-off. Second row, look at me now, see detectability, so minus 6% concealment, or you can pick Fragile Threat and get minus 8%, but you lose 10% of your HP. So there you go, that's kind of the idea. So they're all pretty significant, and come with significant pros and cons, and they make a huge difference in the way your ship plays, because as you can imagine, let's take this one for example, Torpedo Safari, torpedo range 16%. That's a pretty huge boost. Okay. Perceptive, you can actually see where the closest ship is, so the direction, the general direction. You don't know the distance, it's not a radar, but you can actually see in which direction it is. And then the last skill, so Tywit has a few legendary skills, and the one is actually giving you 2 extra smokes. 2 extra smokes. When you think about it, for British destroyers, which typically come with 5 or 6 smokes, and let me show you my Jervis. Yeah, let me, sorry, go back to the port. My Jervis is here, there you go. How many smokes do you have? 6 actually. But if you take another British ships like the Belfast, comes with 2 smokes. Imagine when you double that and you put 4 of them, because you can put a destroyer commander on your cruisers, absolutely no problem. So yeah, all of these commanders, they have kind of, I would say, unique features. If you take the German, for example, Franz von Ripper, increases your secondary guns range by 15%. That's a pretty huge boost, and that's a base trait. And you can actually reuse that base trait on other commanders. So it's called an inspiration. And those inspirations are actually, if I take an example, Let's take as our lane Prince Heinrich. I'm using Paolo di Revel, and his main skin is a reduction of the battleship main battery reload time by 3%. It's not fully leveled. Once it will be completely maxed, it will be at minus 5.5%. So that's a pretty significant boost. And the Warhammer Commander Artast increases battleship damage while catapult fighter is up by 20%. 20%. Oh. I'm using that one on my Preußen. Preußen is one of the best ships in the game, and guess what? It does have 7 of these plates. So yeah, you can see what happens. Another interesting thing, it's the equivalent of the Blitz pass, which again you progress every time you complete missions, you get points, etc. So you progress, and this month, so the rewards are number one actually quite substantial. The price is very low. It's the equivalent of $10 or 10 euros, if you will. So it's very, very cheap. And you get a tier 8 or a legendary tier ship. So yeah, it's actually pretty nice. No crappy Blitz pass with a Japanese radar commander or that kind of stuff. No, the ships that they're giving you are actually very, very good, and it's amazing value for money. Talking about the ships very, very quickly. Yeah, if I show you, for example, the Japanese 3, they're going to look familiar: destroyers Mutsuki, Fubuki, Akatsuki, Kagero, Yugumo, and Shimakaze. So the first thing, Legends only has 8 tiers, not 10, and it also has kind of legendary ships, but you cannot access them right away. You need to actually do a lot of missions, and yeah, it's to prevent people from jumping in one of those ships, being relatively new to the game. Working quite well. You really pretty much you have to grind the line to get the legendary ship, because there are a few missions that require you, for example, to have the Kagero or the Yugumo. But yeah, you do recognize those ships. A few differences, so they're generally the same as Blitz, but for example, the Mogami, here it's the, there you go, you see it doesn't have the 15 guns, instead is getting the same turrets as the Takao, there you go, the 10 main battery 203mm guns. Another really cool thing about Legends, they're very transparent with the statistic that was added in the last update, because the game, it really gets a lot of updates at every 6 weeks, something like that. They added the what Blitz sees as hidden statistics. So you get the Sigma, and you get the dispersion. So you want to know the accuracy values, they are there. HE shell damage, muzzle velocity, fire settings, armor penetration, everything is listed. No need to do data mining and to make sure that you're actually looking at the right game. Everything is there, and it's actually pretty good. Concealment again. 12.3 kilometers for the Mogami after firing gun 14, while it's on fire 14, by air 7 kilometers, etc, etc. And if you're in smoke, yeah, 7 kilometers. So yeah, it's actually pretty transparent, and that's actually pretty cool. And I was telling you about the possibility to actually research certain ships. Well, that is called the Bureau, and this is what it looks like to get the Grosser Kurfürst, which I'm currently researching. You get a series of missions, and each of them contains tasks, daily tasks, which you can accelerate by having the right commanders and the right ships in port. And for example, yeah, I still have to wait 11 hours to get my missions reset for the Grosser Kurfürst. But yeah, all I had to do was win a battle with a tier 5 ship or with the T-22, which is a tier 4 German destroyer. Yeah, and basically, so you're getting rewards at each step of the process, so more free stuff, which is always nice, right? And in the end, you get rewarded with the Grosser Kurfürst, which, yeah, it's not one of the best ships in the game, if I'm honest, so I'm probably going to do this for the rewards. But yeah, enough talking, let's go into a battle. And here we are, and I'm going to show you a battleship gameplay. So I recorded this maybe, 1 or 2 weeks after I started playing, because the point is not to show you the best game in the world, because it's not going to be that. It's not bad, but honestly, looking at it now after 6 months and 1500 battles, yeah, I'm making a lot of mistakes. But those are the mistakes that you will actually be making if you make the switch to Legends. And I kind of wanted to show you what the game looks like. It's actually pretty nice. There are lots of details to the ships. And I'm sorry, but every time I reopen Blitz, I simply think that I'm looking at a game from a previous generation. I don't know how to say it, yeah. We're in the Tier 5 Japanese battleship Hyuga, which is a premium and one you're very likely to get. Typically when you start the game you will get one for free after, I don't know, 5 or 6 logins or maybe 10 logins, I don't know, the Wondertal, which is a Tier 3 German battle cruiser. And this one, it comes with one of the starter packages where for something like 8 or 9 euros you can get one premium ship and then boosters and premium time and blah blah blah. So amazing value for money because the Hyuga, it's a very good ship in Legends. It gets the same 12 guns as in Blitz, but it also has a main battery reload, so rapid reload, essentially cutting your reload time in half, so which is, yeah, you know, just like Blitz as well. But it also gets the same HP as a Tier 6 battleship, so higher tier battleship. It's actually kind of forgiving. It's quite forgiving. And yeah, typically same advice as Blitz apply. When you start with battleships because those are probably the most forgiving ships. I would advise you do not start with cruisers. You will see why in a few in a minute. But yeah. So what I really like about it is that honestly I've played PC and I don't like PC. I don't like the commander system in PC. I don't like it in Blitz as well, to be completely honest. I think it's very basic. And it hasn't changed for several years, more or less. Yeah, they added those new skills, but yeah, they're essentially useless. Oh, there you go. Look what happens in a cruiser when you show broadside to a battleship. Yeah, and believe me, that happens a lot. Look at that Pepsi Cola. Boom. Back to port. One salvo. Yeah, so those things happen quite a lot. It's called a devastating strike. If you know PC, you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, so that's, from that perspective, Blitz is a little bit more forgiving. Yes, you will get punched in the face, but yeah. The other element that is a bit different between Legends and Blitz is the maneuverability of the ships. Look at... I was thinking like, oh, the torpedoes, I can see them coming from quite far, you know, because, yeah, that destroyer, it was pretty obvious what he was going to do. But stopping a battleship in that game actually feels like you're stopping a battleship. And if you look at it, I've taken 3 torpedoes and I've lost half of my HP. 30,000 damage. Yeah. Torpedoes in Legends, they're a lot nastier than Blitz. And to be completely honest, now that I'm a little bit more experienced at the game, destroyers are by far the strongest class in Legends. Typically, the team that has the last destroyer standing on the field has the highest chance of winning. And yeah, simply because they can spot, and that's super important on a game like this, because yeah, shooting over islands is actually a thing in Legends. In Blitz, it's only a few ships that are capable of doing that. In Legends, yeah, almost all the ships are capable of doing it. And essentially, if you have a destroyer that's capable of spotting the enemy team without being detected, because yeah, they do get superb concealment, yeah, you have a tremendous advantage. Now, coming back to what I really liked about Legends that I do not really like about PC, is that Legends is kind of an hybrid. It's kind of in between Blitz and PC, where PC has all of these complicated rules and Legends have kept some of them. Yeah, HE, AP, you really have to think where you aim, and yeah, how can I say it? let me put it this way. It took me about 4 months to understand how to actually aim those bloody shit. And in that battle you see it. I'm doing it like I would in Blitz, you know. I'm putting kind of my cursor at the end of the ship and I'm aiming there. But that's not how you have to do it. You really have to target the superstructure here. And in Blitz the auto aim is automatically throwing your shells to the main belt. So in Blitz it's a little bit too simple from that perspective. You know, HE is always going to be dealing damage. And yeah, AP will kind of randomly bounce or whatever. Here, no, it's the result of a salvo are actually kind of predictable. So yeah, the destroyer makes a comeback, and yeah, I do what I do best. I punch an island. So unlike Blitz, you are not likely to go through the islands that you see. That does not happen. The game is actually pretty solid from a quality perspective, but believe it or not, the fastest way to go back is actually to hit an island and to reverse, because yeah, it tends to stop a lot faster. Boom, I take another 8,000 hit with the torpedo, and yeah, those torpedoes are super nasty, honestly. The first time, but you're also not, it's not like Blitz. If you watch my last Shimakaze battles, where it's not uncommon for me to get 7 or 8 torpedo hits per salvo, that does not happen here, because of the torpedo spread, unless you're really close, and it's really not recommended to be too close to enemy ships. You're not going to be able to really hit them with everything. But yeah, practically, a destroyer getting a salvo at, I would say, 5 or 6 kilometers distance on a battleship sends the battleship back to port. It's as simple as that, in I would say 90% of the cases, regardless of the kind of destroyers. German, Japanese, British, whatever, only the EU have, I would say, smaller torpedo damage. And yeah, so aiming at Legends, it's actually a thing. You really have to think long and hard about where you're going to aim. It retains the overmatch and the angling mechanics of PC. It's just that there are fewer ships, so it's not as hard to remember everything. And to be fair, yeah, I don't really know all the values. Absolutely, I'm not planning on studying to be good at the game. Sorry. I mean, otherwise it's not really a game, right? Boom, there you go. Bye bye. But generally speaking, if you aim for the superstructure, you will score pens. And yeah, typically, if you look at the Hyuga, yeah, I don't know how much damage a shell is going to get. Let's say it's 12,000. Typically, 12,000 is what you get when you get a citadel. And all the ships have different citadel placements with different protections. Some are below the water, others are above the water. So it's a bit like PC here. And yeah, generally speaking, dealing most damage will happen when you hit a citadel, then you deal 100% of the damage. Typically when you overpen, you deal a lot less. It's something like 10%, I could be wrong here, and then if you have a normal penetration, it's going to be like something like 30%, or yeah. So that's why those salvos which penetrated the New Mexico dealt something like 3,000 damage. That's kind of what it means. So yeah, RNG is actually a thing, just like in Blitz. Where sometimes you will be fully aimed and your salvos will actually kill some fish. And sometimes you will get those death strikes like the one I've showed you a little bit earlier against that cruiser. So yeah, the game is at a slower pace than Blitz. I think that's probably the main difference. Yeah, obviously the ships are a bit slower. Yeah, I mean, Hyuga is not the fastest, but it's also not the slowest, believe me. But also the maps are much larger. It's not uncommon to engage at 17 or 18 kilometers or even 15, 16 kilometers at tier 5. And yeah, typically, if you do not have the proper commander setup, yeah, you really feel like you're maneuvering a battleship here. It's not like Blitz, you know, when playing the Richelieu, when you can actually move forward, move backward, move forward, or, you know, peek outside of an island, shoot your guns and retreat. No, it will not work here. You will suffer if you try to do that. So yeah. So the game really rewards thinking about your positioning and anticipation. I think it's the most important skill to have. Looking at the minimap and really anticipate enemy movement, because you cannot really change position like that. You really have to plan ahead. Yeah, and so it's kind of rewarding from that perspective, but also a little bit intimidating, because practically when I started playing, you know, you do the usual tutorial, like tier 2, tier 3, and then yeah, you enter, sorry, tier 1, tier 2, then you enter tier 3, and you get absolutely smashed. I think I lost like 7 or 8 battles in a row. So, because yeah, there is a learning curve. There is a serious learning curve, and I think after 5 months now, I'm quite confident saying that I understand, I would say, most of the game mechanics. Which is something after playing PC for a number of years, I'm not confident I can actually say so. So there you go. So practically, as you can see the RNG there, yeah, it can be a little bit trolly, and I thought that Fuso should have been dead a long time ago, but the next salvo should probably be able to finish it. And I'm activating my rapid reload for absolutely nothing. Congratulations, DFA. So there you go. So, now we do not have anyone in front of us. Let's see what we can find at B cap, and yeah, it's a bit like, you know, yeah, there is a Mutsu, there you go, I'm lucky, a ship magically appears. Thank you very much. Yeah, so again, Mutsu, just like in Blitz, same turret layout, and gets torpedoes, and yeah, you see that salvo, yeah, pretty nasty, right? If you show broadside in a Japanese battleship, this is, or battle cruiser, this is bound to happen, and you are going to bleed. So the game from that perspective is absolutely unforgiving. Yeah, there's no other way to put it. So you have to understand quickly what you're doing and how you're positioning yourself, because not angling to enemy ship will result in you taking a fair amount of damage. Practically, that's why cruisers are not recommended as your first line, just like in Blitz, by the way. So yeah, because you tend to get punished a lot, and yeah, I'm not feeling confident enough to be doing relatively well with cruisers. Obviously, I do have the Belfast, which is completely overpowered, so I did put a bit of money on the table to get this one. But yeah, and it's my main credit grinder. We'll talk about that next week. But yeah, in terms of typical ships, lines to start, American lines, German lines, etc. So the usual suspects, and nothing too surprising there. So yeah, as you can see, the games can last quite long, but the game will also stop you if, you know, once a battle is decided. In that case, it's a 3 versus 1, and it's not like the enemy ship has a fair chance of succeeding, so the game is going to stop soon. Yeah, but if you do not like 15 minutes battle, so yeah, not all of them last 15 minutes, of course, but it does happen. There is also an arcade mode, which has 5 ships versus 5, and these go a lot faster. Ranked as well, it's also a 5 versus 5, much smaller maps. So generally speaking, there are enough game modes if you do not mind. I would say if you really want to have those fast-paced games, it's possible as well. But it's not going to have the same arcade feel as Blitz, where the ships are kind of, you know, reversing, turning left, right, and center. No, it's completely different from that perspective. You could call it a bit more realistic. Yeah, let's call it that, actually. Yeah. So yeah, we're at the end of the battle. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I was able to show you what Legends look like, what your experience is kind of going to be like if you start playing it. Again, it's a slow burn. Do not expect to be proficient at it right away, even if you've played PC or Blitz for a long time. There will be a learning curve. Probably smaller if you're coming from the PC world, but yeah. It's not, I would say, it's not really plug and play, let me put it this way. And you have to accept that you have to spend a lot of time at the lower tiers, which can be a bit frustrating, because you're coming from Blitz, you have all those ships and blah blah blah, and legendary, blah blah blah, etc. Now, you have to kind of, you know, I'm not going to say start again, because yeah, obviously the Hyuga, you're familiar with it, etc. You already know the main characteristics of the lines, which are pretty much the same, but there are certain game mechanics that you have to learn, and aiming is an actual hit or miss in that game. If you do not aim properly, HE, for example, your shells will not deal damage if you do not aim them properly. That's guaranteed. They will not pan whatever you're aiming at. It's not like in Blitz where you automatically deal damage. Here it's a little bit different. So yeah, MVP. Wow. Yeah, you're absolutely not at a disadvantage by playing on a mobile device, by the way. So yeah, as you can see. So yeah, that was the end of the battle. Next week we will talk about the cons, things that I do not like about Legends. But yeah, that's enough talking for today. We will talk about that next week. That's actually the mission progression there. I'll talk a bit about that as well. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe, take care. That was DFA signing out. Bye bye.